In today's video, I want to see if I can create fine art from a bad photo, or at least a fine art style image from a photo that just didn't really work out the way I hoped. And I'm going to try and do it all in Lightroom. I hope you'll enjoy the video. If you do, and you're new here, don't forget to hit subscribe before you go. Hey everyone, thanks for joining me. Some of my targets, my aims for this year have been about increasing my creativity, trying out new creative things. And while a lot of that is creativity in the field with focal lengths and focus and exposure and that kind of thing, creativity also comes into the editing suite when I get an image back on the computer. And today I want to do something a bit different. The end result will probably not look like a photo, but that's okay. I'm looking for kind of a fine art style. And I've decided to look at an image that I shot recently that I wanted to love, but I have to admit it doesn't really work. In a recent video, in fact it was 2 videos ago I think, I talked about wanting to do more handheld photography, and in that video I took an image, a photo of a dead tree sticking out of the water, and I really liked the shape of the tree and the textures that it made. But I've got to be honest, the final image, which is this one, it just doesn't work. The problem with it is that the tree looks really nice actually. I like it. I like the shape, I like the textures. But the relationship between the tree and the background just doesn't work. Now ordinarily I would say maybe the best thing to do is go back and shoot it another time, but I know that the terrain there, the position of the tree and the slope of the bank and all the other factors mean that I'm not going to be able to get a composition that really works. So I was on the verge of kind of scrapping this image. Even though I showed it in the video, I was going to not do anything else with it. But then I thought, what attracted me to the scene in the first place was the shape of the tree and the textures. So can I do something in a fine art style that will make this image, worth sharing? And I've decided I'm going to do that, and I'm going to do it all in Adobe Lightroom, because I don't want to get into clever stuff in Photoshop for this. I want to keep it simple. So what I've done is I've taken the image that I originally shot with all of the adjustments that I made for that first, for what I showed in the video, and I've created a TIFF file of it. So all of those adjustments are locked in and are not going to be changed by what I'm now going to do with the image. What I'm going to do is on top of all of the adjustments that I've already made. So the final image was a TIFF, that's now back in Lightroom, and I've created a virtual copy of it. And what we're going to do now is jump into Lightroom and have a look and see what I can do with this image to create that fine art type effect. Okay, so here's my image in Lightroom, and I'm going to start off with a black and white conversion, and then I'm going to reverse the image, make it a negative by dragging the blacks of the tone curve up and the whites down. Already looks interesting. Now it's just a case of playing around with the settings. I'm starting off with the global settings and just playing around with it till I start to see the effect that I want. And what I really want is pretty much entirely black, apart from the shapes and the textures in the trees, and maybe just a hint of the water, the ripples in the water. Put in a gradient filter here, kind of going through this quite quickly, but just to darken that foreground quite a lot. Remember that everything works backwards, so increasing the exposure darkens the image because it's a negative, and that'll be the same all the way through. We're starting to see the effect. I mean, I'm not going to be able to do all of this with big adjustments like this. I'm going to have to get into some detail soon. But we're starting to see the effect. I think I've pushed it a bit too far somewhere and the highlights are blowing out. I don't want that. It's always difficult working backwards because you're never quite sure which way you should move the slider and which one to avoid the problem. But let's just, right, okay. Yeah, that's bringing my highlights back. Just need to get the right balance, to get the contrast that I want, but not lose the highlights. Okay. And yeah, we're getting there. Now I think what we need to be doing is starting using a brush. I don't want to go too mad. I'm going to put the flow all the way up and then lift the exposure, which of course will darken everything I put in, and just start brushing in all around here. And as I said, I don't want to go too mad on the first pass. This will probably require multiple passes over, particularly over some of the areas, to get the effect that I want. And I do want to keep some of the hint of the water, but I want to lose most of the background. Now we're going to have to start to get in a bit tighter and really see what's happening soon. Remember, this isn't supposed to look like a photo, it's supposed to look like something else, not really sure, but it's going to be a fine art, so we're going to have to zoom in and start looking at a bit more detail. Adjusting the brush size and, you know, brushing in, maybe just, yeah, I can actually push that all the way. But I think what I'm going to need to do is put in multiple passes with the brush to get the effect that I want, and I'm going to have to work quite carefully around the edges of the tree and the branches to get that sort of nice sharp edge, but you know, losing the background pretty much completely. Oops. Okay, so this is probably going to take a while for me to do all of these brush strokes in here, but hopefully you've got the idea of what I'm trying to do. And what I'll probably do in a minute is just, you know, kind of time lapse this. Quite like that. It's a very low-key image. It kind of makes me think of an engraving, or I don't know, but I quite like the effect. But you know what occurs to me? There's another version of this that could also work and could also look quite nice, and it's not going to take very long to do at all, because the image that I've created here is very low-key and very high contrast. But I could also do a high key, low contrast version, which might look quite interesting. So what I've done, I've taken that image that I worked on, I've saved it as a TIFF file, created a virtual copy of it, so everything that I've done is now saved. And all I'm going to do is go in and basically do a reverse of what I did to the image in the first place, because I converted it into a negative, and now I'm going to take that image and convert it into a negative again by simply reversing the tone curve again in Lightroom. And I think that might produce an interesting result. Okay, so there we have it. We have two kind of fine art style images created from one photo that basically didn't work. But now I've got two images that they don't look like photos, they look like something else. One kind of looks like an engraving to me, and the other one looks like a pencil sketch or something like that. But I like them both. And I think both of them are better than the original image, and it was all done in Lightroom. And that's it. I'm going to wrap the video up now. Let me know what you think. Do you like these images? Do you like what I've done with them? Do you hate them? They won't be for everybody, I know that. So let me know what you think in the comments. And if you've enjoyed this video, give it a like, share it on social media, leave me that comment. If you've enjoyed this and you want to see what else I'm going to get up to over the coming months, then don't forget to hit that subscribe button before you go. And as always, I really appreciate you taking the time to watch, so thank you very much. And until the next video, bye.